Good morning. Thanks for joining us. We are live at the Winnipeg Free Press News Café at 237 McDermott in the Exchange District. Every day during the Winnipeg Fringe Festival, we have been welcoming different performers on stage at 9:30 every day. Today is our last, and I'm happy to have Howard Petrick here with me today. He has a show called Rambo, The Missing Yearrs. You came all the way from San Francisco. Thank you.
I did. Thank you for Winnipeg. It's a wonderful city.
Well, thank you for the compliments. So tell us about your show.
My show is about my experiences as being an anti-war GI during the Vietnam War. I was active in the anti-war movement, and I was drafted in 1966. So I went in the Army instead of coming to Canada or going to prison, and organized against the war in the Army, talked to the other guys in my company, and we started a little group, and we started doing things like raising the questions of the war during our classes and basic training, and having little discussion groups, and actually in basic training we even started a petition to our commander-in-chief, who at the time was Lyndon Johnson, and wanted to open up a discussion with the military about why we were going to Vietnam, and was it a legal war.
Very interesting. So this obviously is a subject matter that it hits very close to home. How do you carry that over to your performance? You play upwards of 20 characters, is that right?
Yes. I started out, I took a workshop that was about solo performance theater, and I went in and I really didn't have any idea what I was going to do. I just wanted to see how this director worked with other people. And he said, you've got to get up there and do something. You can't just sit in the class. And so I started telling him about my life, and he said, this Army thing sounds interesting. Why don't you write up how you got in the Army in the first place? So I wrote up a little piece about going to the induction center and not signing any of my papers and being sent home, and then being called up again and being inducted. And it just turned into this show. I do 20 characters. The one nice thing about the Army is that you really do meet characters. You meet career people in the Army, and then you meet all these other people, a whole cross-section of society that are drafted at that time. And so I had a lot of good friends, and then I had some people that were really just after me all the time, and so I try to portray them here, and I think it makes it stronger than just telling about it as a story.
Not aside from the play, what was the outcome of your story while you were over there and you were causing all this trouble? What ended up happening?
What eventually happened was they picked me up and threatened me with a court-martial for disloyal statements and creating disaffection, and threatened me with treason. And eventually they discharged me with an undesirable discharge for security reasons. One of the things I did that was different than what everyone else had done before me was that I tried to be a model soldier and not break any rules. One way they always had of getting rid of the troublemakers was they would give them an order that they knew they wouldn't do, and then they would arrest them for not doing that order. But I always tried to be the best soldier I could. So when they asked me, you know, your company's going to Vietnam, will you go to Vietnam? And I said, sure, why can't I go? Everyone else is going. You know, but of course they didn't want me to go to Vietnam, and they hoped I would refuse. But once I told them I would go, then they transferred me to another company, and they tried to isolate me. I had a defense committee that got a lot of publicity for me, and I had the best constitutional lawyer in the country, Leonard Bodine, as my lawyer. And this was seen as a fight for free speech for GIs, because we were being drafted as citizens, and we were told we were citizen soldiers, but they didn't want us to speak about the war. So every opportunity I got, I spoke about the war.
My goodness, and you still haven't stopped, have you?
No, I haven't.
Well, that's a very interesting story. So let's see a little bit of your performance now. So we're just going to take a minute to set up. and then we'll see a bit of the show, Rambo, The Missing Years.
Thank you.
Just give us a moment.
Private Petrick, I'm Major Franks, second in command, Fort Hood Military Intelligence. You're under investigation for making disloyal statements, creating disaffection, and subversive activities. You have the right to remain silent. Any statements you make may be used against you in a trial by court-martial. You may be charged with treason, Private Petrick, and in a time of war, that's punishable by death. Treason. If I get the firing squad, my mother will kill me. I was 19. I had a high school diploma. I'd been working minimum wage, putting handles on screwdrivers. I get a notice, report to the Minneapolis Armed Forces Induction Center. You this morning for induction in the Armed Forces of the United States on the tape, find the index baby. Please fill out the index baby, bring them up from the room and check them out, make sure they're filled out correctly. If not filled out correctly, they must get back to seat, fill them out correctly. Once you have them filled out correctly, bring them up down, so we'll check them out, make sure they're filled out correctly, then make it back to seat, sit there and wait for the induction ceremony. Please come in, filled out your induction ceremony meeting. Here. Well, these papers aren't filled out. You've put nothing on them but your name. Don't you know how to write? I'm not filling them out any more than they are. You've got to fill these out, son. You can't be inducted until you do. I'm against the war in Vietnam, and I'm not going to volunteer any information about myself. Are you refusing induction into the armed forces? No, I'm refusing to fill out the papers. I have no idea what I'm doing, but that's what an hour in the Minneapolis Public Library gets me. Captain Nelson, I've got a problem over here. Suddenly, everyone in the room stops what they're doing and they're staring at me. The fluorescent lights feel like spotlights burning the back of my neck. I should have researched this better. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Mr. Howard Petrick. He's playing at the Planetarium Auditorium. His show is called Rambo, The Missing Yearr. So you have a show this afternoon at 3:30.
3:30 this afternoon and 7 o'clock on Sunday.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming all the way from San Francisco and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us at the Winnipeg Free Press News Cafe. I'm Tanya Kohut.